Today I want to discuss motion design, a term often interchanged with animation. I'd like to hopefully establish some definition, some understanding, or just begin some sort of discussion about how to think about motion design for not just motion designers, not just for animators. We know this stuff, but for UXers, UX researchers, engineers, folks who are motion design adjacent and curious about how we approach this stuff. We're going to be looking at motion design in the context of digital products, digital experiences. What I want to lay out is motion design incorporating animation within the framework of design. So separating this idea of motion design and animation being the same thing. They are not. Animation, at its core, is the technique of creating the illusion of movement or life through successive imagery. Importantly, objects can be animated, yet not convey a sense of life. So really thinking about animation as a craft, it's a technique of creating that illusion of life. And I think that's a very important distinction to be made. Now, let's navigate the complexity of the term design. Design can also take various forms. It's an idea, it's an outcome, a craft, a profession. It exists both as an action and a tangible entity. Design, capital D design, is the process. It's the approach to achieve a specific outcome. And that outcome being that lowercase d design, I stole this from Dan Mall, by the way. That's going to be the specific outcome, right? The object that we desired from the process that we just went through. We use prefixes like user experience, so print design, web design, layout design, typography design, color design, life design, etc., to help narrow our focus. But it's all about the whole purpose behind design is that approach, that process. It's to get to the outcome. It's to get to our desired state. When discussing motion design, we're essentially using animation as a technique to achieve design outcomes through a defined process. Motion design often is thought of as the animations, right? The final set of deliverables, those perfectly, meticulously edited and crafted pieces of moving whatevers. They're thought of as the endpoint, the deliverable. But it's not. It surpasses the deliverable stage. It's not just the endpoint. It's intricately woven into the design process itself. It is, by definition, it is designed, so it is a part of the process, or at least it very much should be. One compelling example that I often love to share is the early work of Art Babbitt, particularly in his portrayal of Goofy. In breaking conventional norms of human motion and human mechanics, Babbitt's design choices for Goofy challenged traditional expectations of how the body is supposed to move. While we may not instinctively think of acting as a designed process, it undeniably is. Goofy serves as an excellent example of intention-driven motion. Consider Goofy's walk. During the character's early days, Babbitt played with unconventional movements such as inverting feet and breaking joints while Goofy was walking or ice skating. Check it out, it's kind of wild. Although this is physically impossible, those choices contributed to selling the character to the audience because Goofy's goofy. He's supposed to be goofy. He's supposed to be weird. This, to me, exemplifies early motion design, where Babbitt aimed to craft a character exuding silliness, deliberately focusing on delivering a performance that was broken, disjointed, and yet still was coherent. When we refer to motion design, we're highlighting time and movement as our creative medium. It's crucial to note that motion design isn't restricted to anthropomorphic characterization. It can also take on abstract and obtuse forms, yet still serve to convey or evoke a specific feeling or emotion from the audience. In the realm of design, those types of choices are typically considered strategic decisions made to achieve a specific outcome, a particular outcome. Consider an artist like Marcel Duchamp, who in 1926 employed motion design to induce a sense of spatial disorientation in his experimental film Anemic Cinema. Duchamp utilized rotating 2D images not to just create a semblance of three dimensions, but also as a commentary, at least in my interpretation, on the cyclical and nonsensical nature of the piece itself. These are very deliberate choices. This is motion design, right? I want to achieve a specific commentary or a specific feeling, so I am going to design this animation a very specific way to achieve that outcome. In another instance, Walter Ruttmann crafted Lichtspiel Opus 1 in 1921 using paintings on glass to capture an essence that he thought was absent in conventional filmmaking. Lichtspiel Opus 1 predominantly served as an expression of movement, synchronized very carefully with an arranged score. Equally notable is Mary Ellen Bute from the 30s and 50s, credited for her skill in visualizing sound using graphics. She effectively connected audible themes associated with music to a visual form, so very closely related to using motion to purposefully convey the theme of music. As a bit of a side note here, I do think it's important to acknowledge the common conflation of motion graphics with motion design. I want to propose a way to help distinguish between the two. At least this is how I distinguish them. So motion graphics, as I see it, can be perceived as the outcome. It's the lowercase d design. So when you animate graphics, you get motion graphics. You get graphics in motion. It doesn't necessarily have to evoke emotion, and it may often serve as purely decorative. On the other hand, motion design involves the strategic use of those graphics in motion. So we're trying to tell a story, elicit emotions. It's very purpose-driven in some way, shape, or form. That little distinction, that nuance between the approaches really helps to clarify the two concepts for me, at least. Perhaps we can get into those weeds another time. Let me know in the comments if that's something you want to dive into. Happy to give it a shot. In the realm of early motion design, some of those grandfathers that I wrote down on a post-it somewhere around here, Saul Bass, Kyle Cooper, Norman McLaren, Oskar Fischinger, Hans Richter, and some others have made significant contributions. And among them, Saul Bass in particular stands out for his exceptional ability to evoke emotions exclusively through his title sequences. Bass himself described these moving graphics as being intimately tied to the film's context, serving to create a climate for the story to unfold. And if that's not motion design, if that's not very purposely driven motion graphics or purposely driven animations, I don't know what is. Moreover, motion design extends beyond visual aesthetics. It incorporates unique elements related to how objects behave rather than how they look. Consider this. Consider unconventional scenarios, such as a feather being as heavy as a brick, or a bowling ball squishing like a water balloon. This emphasis on behavior, divorced from strict ties to form and physics, adds a layer of creativity and beauty to motion design and animation. When you're able to shape or think about and plan how you want to incorporate those properties to tell a story or to get a feeling or a vibe or an energy across, that's really, designing motion. That's motion designed. So I really hope this exploration has helped you understand how to think about motion design and maybe even its potential applications or where it might work well for you in your business, your products, your projects, your life. Yeah, your life. Why not? I encourage you to dive a little bit deeper into some of the artists that I mentioned. I will put their names in the description below. yeah, they offer a very valuable inspiration for those embarking on a motion design journey. Until next time, subscribe and stay tuned.